You just finished a heavy meal. You ate until you were physically full. And if someone offered you another piece of steak or a second bowl of rice, you would turn it down. The thought of it might even make you feel slightly sick. Your body is telling you with absolute physiological certainty that you cannot consume another bite. But then, the waiter brings out the dessert menu, and everything changes. The fullness fades away, replaced by a sudden craving for something sweet. You find room for a slice of cake, you eat it, and you move on with your night. We laugh about having a dessert stomach. We treat it like a minor character flaw or a simple lack of willpower. But from an evolutionary perspective, this behavior is completely bizarre. For 99% of human history, wasting energy to consume food you didn't need was a death sentence. Our ancestors lived in a world of brutal scarcity, and their bodies were finely tuned survival machines designed to stop eating the moment calorie requirements were met. So why does a modern human, packed to the brim with calories, experience a sudden emergency for sugar the second a heavy meal ends? The answer has nothing to do with a lack of willpower. It is a glitch in our evolutionary programming, one that a multi-billion-dollar food industry has spent the last 50 years weaponizing against us. To understand why the brain does this after a heavy dinner, we have to look at what sugar actually meant to an ancient human. In nature, sweet things are incredibly rare. If an ancestor encountered a bush of ripe, sugary berries, they didn't just stumble upon a snack, they stumbled upon a biological jackpot. Sweetness was nature's shorthand for high calorie density, and an absolute guarantee that the plant wasn't poisonous, because toxic plants are almost always bitter. Because sugar was so rare, the human brain evolved a powerful reward mechanism. The moment sugar touched an ancestor's tongue, their brain flooded their system with dopamine, the neurochemical of desire. It didn't just register a good taste, it forced them to remember that exact location and eat as much of it as possible before someone else did. But that only explains why we like sugar. It doesn't explain why we crave it specifically when we are already full from a heavy meal. To find that answer, scientists had to look at a phenomenon known as sensory-specific satiety. Imagine sitting in front of a giant plate of French fries. The first fry tastes incredible. The 10th fry is good. By the 50th fry, the pleasure response drops significantly. This isn't your stomach filling up, it is your brain getting bored. Sensory-specific satiety is an evolutionary defense mechanism. If our ancestors only ate one type of food, they would die of malnutrition. So the brain is programmed to actively lower the reward value of a specific flavor profile as you consume it. You get full on that specific taste. When you finish a large, savory, salty dinner, your brain turns off the reward center for savory food. You are biologically done with salt and fat. But the reward pathways for sweetness, they are completely untouched. They are wide open, resting at zero. When you see a dessert, your brain realizes it can bypass your physical fullness by tapping into a completely fresh, unexhausted neural pathway. But the reality gets much more ridiculous. The human stomach is lined with stretch receptors. When they expand during a heavy meal, they send signals to your brain saying, "Stop eating, we are physically out of room." But when sugar enters the equation, a strange physiological override occurs. In the early 2000s, researchers studying gastrointestinal motility discovered that glucose triggers the release of a hormone called GLP-1. Among other things, this hormone relaxes the smooth muscles of the stomach wall. Sugar doesn't just find room, it literally makes room. When you eat dessert, the sugar causes your stomach to physically expand, lowering the pressure from the heavy meal you just ate. The dessert stomach is a measurable physical reaction. The body relaxes its defenses to let the sugar in. For 300,000 years, this system worked perfectly. An ancient human would eat a heavy meal of wild game, find a few rare wild berries. Their stomach would expand slightly to accommodate the extra calories, and they would survive the winter. But we no longer live in the world our brains were designed for. We live in a world of hyperabundance. Modern food corporations understand sensory-specific satiety better than anyone. They design processed foods to hit what flavor scientists call the Bliss Point. the perfect calculation of salt, fat, and sugar designed to prevent the brain from ever feeling bored. And when you finish a meal, the modern environment presents you with sugar in concentrations that simply do not exist in nature. A single slice of commercial cake contains more refined sugar than an entire family of hunter-gatherers would encounter in a month. When you reach for that sweet treat after a heavy dinner, your body isn't malfunctioning. It is doing exactly what it was programmed to do in the Stone Age to keep you from starving. It is a survival mechanism, trapped in a reality where it is no longer needed. We built a world of infinite sweetness, but we are still navigating it with the brains of frightened primates who don't know when their next meal will be. We didn't change our biology, we just changed the world around it. And every night, when the dinner plates are cleared, we pay the price for a reality we created, but were never built to handle.